Dear students, hello and welcome to my class. I think you all are fine by the grace of Almighty Allah. This is Lavan Sharkar. I am also fine. Dear students, today I am here to conduct the third and the last class on chapter 8 from your Bangladesh and Global Studies book. So dear students, before the start of the main part of our today's class, I would like to show our today's learning outcome. After the class, you will be able to describe the duties and responsibilities in terms of the floods and cyclones. Then you will be able to describe the doors to prevent river erosion. And then you will be able to describe the doors to prevent drought. So dear students, that's all about our today's learning outcome. So let's get started of our today's class. At first, I'm going to discuss about the pre-dose before the floods and the cyclones. So dear students, at first you have to understand what is called the dose. Basically, dose means what should we do in particular time. Okay. So at first, I'm going to show a picture. This is a picture of flood, and this is another picture, and this is a picture of cyclone in our country. So dear students, now I am going to discuss all of the pre-dose before the floods and the cyclones. The first step before the floods and cyclones is use highlands as much as possible to build houses and animal shelters. Dear students, we know all Bangladesh is one of the lower areas of the world, and every year we can see many places of our country are inundated by flood. So we should try to use highlands as much as possible to build houses and animal shelters. So this is the first step before the floods and the cyclones. So dear students, now I am going to discuss about the second step, that is built embankments. So what is called embankments? Basically, embankments is one of the processes to protect the locality from the sea water or the river water. So we should try to build embankments. Okay, so this is one of the steps before the floods and the cyclones. The next step is plant bamboo, banana tree, dolkormi, dhonja around houses. We should try to plant this type of trees around our houses, and these trees will help us during the floods and the cyclone. Okay, so that's all about this point. Now I am going to discuss about the next point, that is make an extra roof for platform or inside houses. So we should try to make an extra roof for platform inside our houses, and this will help us during the flood time, during the cyclone time. The next step is keep some essential things. So we should keep some essential things that will help us during the flood time, during the cyclone time. Okay, so for example, we should keep some dry food, we should preserve some pure drinking water. Okay, so these are the things. The next step is learn how to swim. The people who live in or near a river, near sea, must know how to swim. Okay, so this is one of the steps before the floods and cyclones. And next step is repair houses. In every year, we should repair our houses, and it will help us during the flood time, during the cyclone time. Next step is know where the nearest shelter is. So and we have to know the location of the nearest shelter. Okay, so that we can take shelter in during the flood time, during the cyclone time. The next step is make a habit of saving. So we should try to keep some money for the flood time, for the cyclone time. So this is one of the steps before the floods and the cyclones. And the next step is set up the danger signals and know their explanation. So the people who live in near the river, near the sea, must set up the danger signals, and they have to know their explanations. So this is one of the steps before the floods and the cyclones. The next step is follow the directions given by the disaster management committee and volunteers. So we should must follow we should follow the directions given the disaster management committee and volunteers. So this is one of the steps before the floods and the cyclones. The next step is have regular meetings with local disaster management committee. So we should attend disaster meetings which is organized by disaster management committee in regular basis. So these are the steps we should take before the floods and the cyclones, and this topic is highly important for a credit question. So dear students, now I am going to discuss about the next topic, that is dose during the flood and cyclones. So the first step is monitor water ups and down regularly during the flood time, and we should observe the ups and downs of the water of river, the water of sea. Okay, so this is one of the steps during the flood times and cyclones. The next step is wrap household items with polythene or any other water resistant materials. We should wrap our household items with polythenes if we keep themselves from their damages. And next step is shift livestock to highlands, and we should try to shift our livestock to highlands, okay, for their survival. And next step is take shelter in the nearest shelter centers, and we should try to take shelters ourselves in the nearest shelter centers. Okay, so this is one of the steps during the floods and cyclones. And next step is preserve safe drinking water. Dear students, we know well during the flood time, during the cyclone time, we can see the scarcity of your drinking water. So we should preserve some drinking water for this period. So dear students, the next step is take special care for children, challenged, pregnant, and old people. So during the flood time, during the cyclone time, we should careful to our children, to our challenged people, to our pregnant, to our pregnant women, to our old people. Okay, so this thing we have to do. The next step is, if there are no ports for communication, use banana trees to make local ramps. Okay, so this is one of the steps, and we should take it during the floods and the cyclones. The next step is take necessary steps for vaccination to guard against infectious disease. Dear students, in flood time in our country, we can see the presence of many infectious diseases. So, if is it possible, we will take vaccination to guard against infectious diseases. And next step is ensure latrine facilities and storage system in selected centers. So dear students, we should ensure the latrine facilities, that means the sanitation facilities and the storage system in selected center. So that's all about the dose during the floods and the cyclones. Dear students, now I am going to discuss about the next topic of our today's class, that is post dose after the floods and cyclone. The first step is leave shelter centers and come back to own places after the flood or cyclone is over. Okay, so after the flood, after the cyclone, we should leave shelter centers and come back to own places. Okay, so this is one of the steps after the floods and cyclones. The next step is don't leave shelter centers immediately after the cyclone stops. So this is one of the steps after the flood, after the cyclone. The next step is repair and clean houses. So after the flood and after the cyclone, we should repair and clean our houses. So this is one of the steps. after the flood and cyclone. And next step is give primary aid if anyone is injured during the disaster. So we should give the primary aid, the primary treatment if anyone is injured during the disaster. So this is one of the steps after the flood or after the cyclone. The next step is if anyone dies, take initiative to bury him or her immediately. So this is one of the steps after the flood or after the cyclone. The next step is cooperate relief and medical teams to support the real activities. After the flood, we should cooperate the relief giving agency or medical teams so the real victims can get support from them. The next step is work together with others in society for post-disaster management. So dear students, that's all about the post-dose after the floods and cyclones. Now I am going to discuss about the next topic, that is dose to prevent river erosion. So the first step is to save life and resources. At first we should try to save our lives, we should try to save the lives of the animals, and then we should try to save our resources. So this is one of the steps to prevent river erosion. And the next step is to decide where to take shelter. Then we should take our decisions where we want to take shelter. So this is one of the steps during river erosions. The next step is to shift children, aged people, pregnant people, women, new mothers, and challenged person to safe area. So this is one of the steps to prevent river erosions. And the next step is to shift livestock in safe area, and we should try to keep our pet animals in safe area for their survival. And the next step is to sell out the trees and vegetables. Okay, so we should try to sell out our trees in our houses, and we should try to sell our vegetables, okay, before the river erosion. So that's all about the steps we should take in the time of river erosion. So dear students, now I'm going to discuss about the dust to prevent dot. So the first step is to excavate ponds and canals. So at first we should try to excavate ponds and canals to preserve the natural water. Okay, so this is one of the steps to prevent drought. The next step is to preserve rainwater as much as we can. So we should try to preserve rainwater as much as we can. Okay, and this rainwater is very 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 helpful for drinking or for doing other works. The next step is to preserve dry foods. We should try to preserve some dry foods in for the time of drought. Okay, and next step is to save money for drought period, and we should try to uh, save some money, keep some money to run in time of drought. Okay, so this is one of the steps. And next step is to preserve foods for the livestock. We should try to preserve foods for the animals for their survival. Okay, so that's all about and these are the things and we have to do to protect to prevent drought. The next step is to install some tree walls in locality. So dear students, and we should try to install some tree walls in our locality so that we can get pure drinking water in the time of drought. The next step is to find out some alternative sources of income. So the people who live in the drought prone area should try to find out some alternative sources of income. Okay, so this is one of the steps. And the next step is to calculate in using water, and the people who live in places which is highly drought prone area must be very calculate in using water. And the next step is to use organic fertilizers in agricultural lands. So we should try to use organic fertilizers in agricultural lands to grow crops in drought prone areas. So dear students, the last step is to plant more trees, and we should try to plant more trees in the places which are highly drought prone. Okay. So dear students, that's all about the draws to prevent drought. Dear students, now I am going to start the new part of our today's class, that is the evaluation part. Here I am going to ask you some questions and you will try to give the right answers of these questions, though I will tell you the right answers of this question. So my first question is, to whom should we give much attention during any disaster? In the time of any disaster, we should give much attention to our children, to our pregnant women, to our challenged people, to our old people. So this is the answer of this question. The next question is, which signal indicates us to take shelter in shelter house? Signals before above five indicates us to take shelter in shelter centers. And my next question is, we don't get any alarm from which stages? That's definitely the answer will be earthquake. In time of earthquake, we don't get any alarm from it. So that's all about the evaluation part, dear students. Now I am going to give you some homework. You have to write the pre-dose and post-dose of flood and cyclone, and you have to submit the answer of this question to your respective subject teacher after the open of your school. Dear students, if you want to watch my more video classes, you have to subscribe my YouTube channel. The name of my YouTube channel is Upon Physics Tutorial. Dear students, that's all about our today's class. If you have any questions regarding our today's class, you should feel free to put your questions in comment box, and after the class I will give the right answers of your questions. So dear students, that's all about our today's class. Thank you very much for watching me with your kind patience. Next time, see you again. Till then, Allah Hafiz.